Hey, this is Jana, and this is a Real Mom car tour, and I drove the 2025 Chevy Equinox Activ trim level. And there's been a lot of discussion about the 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. And so my drive partner happened to be a mechanic of 15 years, and now he's an automotive writer. And we had a lot of discussion about what's going on under the hood. So without further ado, I'm gonna cut to me chatting with Justin Banner, who writes for Motor Trend. If you're new here, I'm glad you found me. Hi, I'm Jana, and I give Real Mom car tours. I am a boy mom, auto enthusiast, and I'm an Aquarius, which means my life and sometimes these tours are a little bit chaotic, but they are fun. So buckle up and let's get back to it. I have my friend Justin here, and he's pointing out to me the turbo right down here. And why a turbo is important is because on this smaller engine, you're gonna get more lower end torque, you're gonna get more instant power. And for people that drive like me, you just need some help getting on and off the off-ramp, but then you need to go back to having your fuel savings. This is gonna kick in and help you do that. Is that accurate?
That's a little
Is that accurate enough?
It's accurate enough.
Wait, well, give me the real accurate, like the super accurate.
So the real idea about putting the turbo is to add power, because you're shoving in more air for the fuel to burn with. The good thing about having turbo is that you can actually do your good fuel economy off boost, so you're using a little less fuel.
Yeah.
But then when you need the power, the turbo will come in. I think this one comes in as low as 2,500, maybe a little bit less, and so you're getting it still off pretty quickly. But when you're in your normal highway driving, that's why you're getting so many miles per gallon, because at that point you don't need the power, so you can be off boost and you're not using as much fuel. Another thing, I need to look at it, I think this one is direct injected, which your viewers probably want to know a little bit about that. Do you know what that means?
Direct fuel injection?
Yes.
I mean, I know that's what technically, but no.
Okay, so
Talk to me like I'm dumb.
okay, I'll give you the quick little history on how fuel is put into an engine.
Okay.
So we started off with a carburetor, which was using the engine's own vacuum to pull fuel into the cylinder. We switched over to a fuel injection, but it was mechanical on the Corvette, and I think there was a Ford with it too, but the Corvette's the one that's most known, and the Tri-5 Chevy. From that point, we then figured out how to do this electronically, and we started off, I believe, with throttle body injection first. So this is a throttle body. That's what this is right here.
Okay.
So this is where you'll see your little butterfly open and closing. So a TBI injection would have an injector here, and it would work like a smarter carburetor.
Yeah.
So it's not going, it's one big injector or two big injectors, depending on how big of an engine you've got. For something like this, it would have been one injector. But then we moved over to multi-port. So this is where the fuel injectors became individual, and they sat in each runner of the intake.
Oh.
So we had that for a long time, and now we have direct injection. Direct injection's been around for a lot longer than people realize, because that's what diesels are. They are direct injected. And the fuel injector actually sits in the cylinder. So rather than be at the intake right here just above the port, it's now in the combustion chamber. And what this allows is for fuel to come in at the last possible second. And that does two things. One, obviously you get your power burn, but you also get an instant cooling action happening because of how the chemical reaction works. It needs that energy pulled out from the heat of the combustion cycle to help get it to explode. And what that also does, it means you can use a little bit less fuel, because you're only squirting in enough fuel to do those two actions.
When you need it.
But there is a problem with that.
Oh Lord, tell me, because there's a problem in me retaining this information for later. I hope there's no quiz.
No, it's
but
good.
no, I understand it. I just don't think I could ever explain it.
Yeah, so that's all it really means, is that the injector is in the combustion chamber when it's direct injected.
Yeah.
And port injection means it's usually right there by the intake port, usually in the intake itself. Now the problem with direct injection though is that you get a lot of carbon buildup on the intake valves. The one good thing about multi-port injection is when it squirts fuel in, it's also squirting it on the intake valve. That softens the carbon that gets built up and allows it to fall off when the valve closes, because that's a pretty violent event. Now, without that wetting of the carbon, it sticks there. So now to clean it, you have to come into a service, usually every 25 to 50,000 miles, I think it is, for some cars. And you have to do a media blast. So you're taking the intake apart, blasting usually just walnut shells into the intake valve to clean the carbon off, and then you vacuum that out and do that to each individual.
It's like a depilatory for my car.
Yes. And then you put all that back in.
So when they just say, you're coming in for your 30,000 mile, that's what's happening?
It depends.
Sometimes, depending on the engine.
Yes, that's one of the maintenance things that you have to think about when you go to a direct injection engine. Luckily, it happens so infrequent that it's not a big deal, but when it happens, it's a big deal, because like I said, you're taking the intake apart. And as you can see, it's more than just the intake coming off. You have to take off this tube here, the throttle body, any ancillary part that's on here, like sensors, all of that would have to come off. That's all labor.
It's a lot of labor.
And then there's media blasting on top of that.
Wow. So I don't usually keep a car to 50,000 miles.
Right.
So I normally, back in the day I did, before I had kids, I was driving cars to 150, or until their wheels fell off or they blew up. But as I've been a mom, I want the latest tech and safety.
Right.
So I'll drive something 3 or 4 years and then I'm going into something else.
Yes.
Try not to build negative equity along the way.
Right.
But a lot of the problems that I had, when I couldn't afford it, in my 20s and 30s, I'm out here trying to scrape it together.
Yeah.
Because I need that service, or because something went wrong,
exactly.
by having a newer car. A lot of times you try to avoid that.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically to boil it down, and Justin wrote about this in his article, El Motor Trend, he says, and I agree, that the engine is the same, but there's 2 new transmissions, which we talked about in other videos. The all-wheel drive is paired with an 8-speed automatic, and the front-wheel drive is paired with a CVT. And according to Justin, those 2 extra gears on the 8-speed does a remarkable job of making it a smoother transition at higher speeds than the outgoing 6-speed automatic. And just my personal opinion, I didn't have any trouble. I was doing some B-roll footage here of trying to show just some of the highway driving and that sort of thing in and around Minneapolis. And the highway system here is kind of a nightmare, to be honest with you. I didn't feel it lagging, but it was a little bit sluggish for me. And what I mean is, I just need more power. The way I drive, the way I maneuver in and out of traffic, I do better with peppier acceleration coming from a bigger engine. That being said, this got me where I needed to be. If you do more around town driving, if you're an urbanite, or if you just don't have an aggressive lead foot like I do think it's plenty powerful enough. I do love this car choice for someone who lives in a city and is doing a lot of around town driving.